I don't have like many notes for you or anything for today. I just wanted to get you on the stream, and talk, right? So so I'll tell you, I made my own makiwara. Okay. I made my own version of a Wing Chun dummy.
Oh.
I made my own stretch pulley.
Okay.
And I made my own heavy bag.
Wow.
Yeah. So what did you make in your time?
I did a lot of similar stuff as you. I made it, but my Wing Chun dummy was kind of it sucked a little bit because I made it out of PVC. I don't know if you ever seen those.
My buddy Ricky Amador, he made a PVC but this was years later. So my wooden dummy in Barbados. My mom out in the yard, she had in the right angle corner of the garage and the maid's quarters, she made a plant stand, right? Oh. The big wooden plant thing. I unscrewed 3 legs of a stool, right?
Yes.
And then took the metal part that you would screw and screwed those into the poles, right, on the plant stand. And that's how I made so I didn't have a real dummy. I just had 3 pegs sticking out.
Yes.
Right? Then there was some leftover wood. So I took that wood, wrapped it with rope.
Okay.
Leaned it up against the back wall, and that became the first makiwara.
Nice.
Right? So now in this right angle thing, I got a piece of pipe and put it across the 2 roofs of the building. And then from the drama stage at high school, I stole the pulleys for the curtain. Right?
Yes.
And then I got another piece of rope, and that's how I made the stretch pulley.
Very nice. Yeah. That's awesome, man.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It was like that too. My grandfather had a huge shop in the back. So I would go there and make my first, like we were making training knives as young. I was 16 years old making training knives.
Aluminum stuff?
To use all the tools and stuff. And it's so funny. I still get instructors today who say, I still have some of your training knives from like 25, 30 years ago. They're all chipped up because we had a process. We use a wood called fir. Have you ever heard of fir? F-I-R.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's a little durable, but it's also kind of soft. So when you hit, it doesn't. You could sport without pads with them, and that's why I started doing that. And then we would sand it down and shape them real good and round the edges off. And then I would put protective covering over. I would paint them like the color of a blade, silver, and then we would put protective covering over them. And for many years, I sold them. And I mean, I would like to start doing that again. Actually, it was a fun hobby for me. But I did a lot of that. And then my grandfather had these industrial vice grips and just tools. And I would make arms sticking out of them and vice grip the arms down. And I could work the stick work. I could work the different. Yeah. So
see, I made all that stuff probably 6 or 7 years before I even met Inosano, before I even made my first trip to California.
Oh, okay. Wow.
What
was you?
Oh, you know what? I gotta ask you something. I don't know if we talked about this before, but you're from New Orleans, right? I was in New Orleans in '91 for an Inosano seminar.
Yeah.
At a Shotokan school with a guy named, I want to say it was Wing Lam, but I can't remember for sure. Is any of that familiar?
You're a little younger. You're a little older than me, so I was. I was. Plus,
that would have been before your time.
I was probably already in Tennessee in '91.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But I would go back to Louisiana every summer to to spend time with my dad. As you know, my dad was my first martial arts instructor. So he would train me 3 months out of the year. That was kind of and I mean, every day I'd wake up and we would train. And then he knew that I would go back for the school year and then I'd come back. So I only saw him, until his death, from the time I was probably 8 or 9 to the time he died when I was 12. I only saw him 3 times a year, but we did nothing but train. And then on the weekends, he would take me to the movie theater. And even in the movie theater, we would train sometimes. It was fun, man.
Yeah. Billy, I'm listening to you tell that story about your dad, right? And you don't have any kids of your own, correct?
I do. I have 2 grandkids also.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then you're not as young as you're supposed to be.
No, I'm almost 45. Right? My daughter started early. She's 21 years old.
Okay.
She.
But I'm listening to you talk about your dad, right? And all of a sudden, I sense that your experience with him is something that definitely shaped the kind of man that you became, right?
Yeah, and I think more than anything was because he passed, believe it or not. And when I tell people that, the passion was already there because it was my connection to him, and I loved it. It was fun. Him holding cardboard and me kicking it and punching it, and he would electric tape butter knives, and we would train with butter knives. But when he died, it was the only connection I had to him. And my mother knew that. So my mother, and I went through a deep depression when he passed. And my mother said, I got to get you in martial arts because that's what connected you and him. So that's what kind of sparked it. So I don't know if I'd be who I am today had he not died, basically. And I know that maybe not sound,
Yeah. No, it's not morbid at all. It makes sense because I can tell from the way you talk and the way you present yourself and what have you, that there's so much going on in your heart and soul and in your mind, right? And unfortunately sometimes, right? So people know you. Okay, so for those of you who are chiming into our great conversation, this is my good friend Billy Brown, and this is episode number 275 of the Jeet Kune Dialogues. But we just started having such a good talk that I decided, let's just go live. But here's what I'm saying. Most people who know you as the no nonsense, straight shooting, right martial arts guy. But see, what I have discovered over the years that I have been doing the Jeet Kune Dialogues is that there's so much more than just that. Yeah. You know what I mean? To who we are, right? And so, but anyhow, but you know what? I want to get some stuff out of the way first. Okay. So let's see. Okay, so I hope that the link for this goes in. Otherwise, people can just go to it's a GoFundMe page, correct? For Brittany. Okay, all right. So give us the quick update on how she's doing.
She's doing good. I mean, she's a fighter, and I mean more than I ever knew she was. I've always known she was tough, and she's had a hard life too, like I have. I mean, what people don't understand is that she's a cancer survivor also. So she's had these health issues pop up through the years, you know. But this one was just quite scary because it just she would pass out and her heart would just quit randomly. And we could be anywhere. You know, I mean, in the last one that put her in the hospital for 10 days, where we finally got answers, because every time the episode is what we call it would happen, they would rule it something different. Like the first one, they got the ER got rid of us so quick. They said she was extremely dehydrated. So that was the first one, and I'm like, okay, maybe that's because I know man, I've worked out to the point without drinking water, and I've almost passed out. I get that. Maybe that's okay. Then it happened again. Then they said, well, she's dehydrated and she has vitamin deficiencies. And I'm like, okay, so let's give her some vitamins. That's cool. But it kept happening. It kept happening. So now it's at the point where she may have a hole in her heart, and she has a heart issue, basically, is what's going on.
Yeah.
Now, she had an extreme low B12 deficiency, which is apparently life-threatening in itself, and I didn't know that. So I have to give her shots every week. And throughout all of this, she developed neuropathy in her feet and legs, to the point where the doctor said this is one of the most extreme cases that we've seen. Like her feet, if I touch them, she cries. If I touch her feet or her calves, and keep in mind, she's a world-class athlete. She was an Olympic level swimmer. She went to the 2008 Olympic trials, for Christ's sake, as a kid.
Yeah.
And so she's always been very athletic and stuff, but so she stays in pain. And now that she's back to work, they got her on light duty. She's a manager, so she can kind of control the situation. She can sit a lot, but she likes to push herself. So when she gets home, she's in so much pain where she can't walk to the bathroom. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's been an adventure, man. It's been an adventure. But a lot of things are getting better now that we have answers, because the last 6 months we had no answers.
Right. That's always the problem.
And that's the scary thing, because when you don't have answers, you try to kill a bug with a shotgun and hope the pellets hit the bug. You know what I mean? But you don't know what you're shooting at.
Yeah.
So next week we go to the cardiologist, and she's had a heart monitor. I know y'all have probably seen the pictures, and it's for 2 months now, and it's 24/7 data accumulation to the people in Texas. Somebody in Texas is monitoring, like, to the point where they call us all hours of the night. They're like, "What's wrong? How is she?" And I'm like, "She's sleeping." I mean, they'll call me. I'm like, "She's asleep."
Yeah.
They're like, "Okay, well, do me a favor. Check this, check this, check this." I'm like, so now they think that she's skipping a beat, like a complete beat in her heart. You know, I don't know quite what that means yet till we see the cardiologist next week. But she's getting stronger now that she's walking again, even though she's in pain. Even though it sucks, but she doesn't care.
Yeah.
We have to put these huge compression type leggings on her whenever she walks. But she doesn't care. She just likes to be working and moving. I mean, you know? She doesn't know yet, but I'm about to make her start doing front kicks. I mean, I'll hold her. Just pick your knee up, kick it out, pull it back, put it down. Pick it up, kick it out, pull it back, put it down.
Well, she's a trooper. So I urge you guys to just go to the link. It should be on both screens, and on YouTube as well.
And it's on my Facebook. And guys, I absolutely listen. Let me say this before we switch topics. I spent my entire career not asking for anything. I own a school, and for 27 years, I did it without family money. I did it without loans. I did it the hard way. You know
I know that club.
And I was proud of that, and I am proud of that. And we moved to Florida, and COVID hit, and then my heart attack, and then I got run over by a car. It just seems like we've been very tested.
Yes.
So, but with past all that, I hate asking for anything free. So if you do donate, I'm willing to give videos, private lessons, seminars, whatever you need, I'll do it. You know what I mean? As long as it's in my wheelhouse, so to speak.
Well, that's a huge wheelhouse there. Yeah. The other thing, this is, I think I can I do this one too? because I tried to make a link.
You're getting so clever here with all this.
Yeah, hey man, okay, there we go. Right? Can you see that? That's correct, right? Proactionvideos.com.
Yeah.
That's your link, right?
Proactionvideos.com.
Okay, cool. All right, so you guys can go there too and avail yourself of Mr. Brown's stuff. All right.
By the way, before we continue, I have to ask something. How did the storm hit you guys at all?
No. In fact, right? I think Ron Goldstein's on here, and I told Ron, don't listen to the weather people, just listen to Dwight, okay? Because he lives in Broward County, right? So he's a southeasterner like I am. I took one look at that storm and I was like, we ain't got nothing to worry about, okay? Right? And we really didn't. I mean, we got rain, yeah, for sure. Because it's a wide storm.
It's funny. I always worry about you guys that are close to the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever these things happen, I'm like, we're in Orlando. We are an hour away from any water. And let me tell you something. The Orlandoans act like, I don't know if they want to live. I don't know if they want to act like they're from Miami or if they're from Clearwater or if they want to act like it's the end of the world. I went to the store the other day. All the water's gone.
Oh man!
I mean, I had to buy like the water you give babies, with the baby picture on it.
Yeah.
So it's just like we get a little rain. I mean, that's it.
Those people are well trained by the powers that be.
Yes.
Okay? They're well trained. Yeah. And so every little thing that happens, it's like you said, it's going to be the end of the world.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy, man. At least I had toilet paper this time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I out of habit, right? In fact, my good friend Doc was telling me today, he goes, he says, I'm too habituated. Out of habit. I'd shop most times for one person, sometimes for two people.
Yeah. Are you married? I never asked you that. Are you married?
No, nobody will have me.
Oh.
Right. So I still go to Costco.
Okay. Yeah.
I still buy stuff in bulk. So I have paper towels that I have had probably for 4 years. Right. So I hardly ever run out of stuff, you know. So anytime there's weather, invariably I don't have to go stock up. I'm already well stocked. So
how far are you from a beach, from the ocean?
Let's see. I could work this out. So about from the Bay of Biscayne. So there's no beach at Bay of Biscayne, but it's depending on how far up north you go. So there's no beach on Bay of Biscayne, but in South Miami we are. I'll tell you right now. 57 to 42nd. We are about 1.5 miles from the Bay of Biscayne.
Oh my God. You got room for us to come visit?
Right? We're about a mile. Okay. We're 1.5 miles from that body of water.
Yes.
But I'm trying to think if nothing really happens there. No, I'm trying to think I wasn't living there when Andrew hit, because somebody was talking, they were talking about how they're blaming Idalia on climate change, right? As if, wait, hold on a second. So you're telling me it's not August in Florida, right?
Yeah.
All of a sudden, right? So this is not a common occurrence. They seem to forget. In 1992, the first hurricane of the season was called Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, what is this thing?
Yeah.
It's climate change that caused a hurricane in Florida in August. That is so bogus, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. but that's what they want you to do.
Well, it's funny. It seems like we won't get into all that BS political BS. Any state that is more tilted one way, they try to like make it seem demonized, so to speak.
Yeah. Oh,
you know,
sure.
when in fact, this is you. Whenever people that I meet, and listen, we've only lived here for 4.5 years, but I came here I came here 4 times a year for 12, 14 years to do seminars. I was very accumulated. Heck, my daughter, I don't know if I could say this, my daughter was conceived in Florida 21 years ago. So Florida's always been my second home. So when people go, it's so hot, I'm like, you live in Florida. Yes, it's Florida. It's hot. We're going to get some cool weather 3 weeks, but yes, you live in Florida. So these things, and I always tell people too, if you live on the ocean or near the ocean, so to speak, weather is going to affect you more than if you live an hour or two from it. It's just it's the fact of life, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, I lived on South Beach during in 92. And Andrew at first was on a direct line to South Beach, to Miami Beach.
Yes.
And then it dipped and went south and wreaked havoc, in Monroe County and Florida City and Homestead and what have you. Yeah. And so anyhow, so that's that, right?
And let me end it with this too. I grew up in Louisiana. We had tornadoes every month in Louisiana. Yeah. People don't realize that. My grandfather dug a trench in our front yard because tornadoes jump valleys. They jump ditches. So we would just go sit in the trench and watch them go over us. That's right. We had them every. I was there when Katrina hit. For Christ's sakes, I mean, so it's just weather. It doesn't matter the geography. We live in a world where you get the occasional bad weather. Mm-hmm. But it seems like the media tries to, nobody wants to go to Florida because you're going to get killed. You're going to get flooded out, so it is what it is. But anyway.
Yeah. I think I went to that first seminar in New Orleans. And
I want to ask you about this. So what was you doing before the 91 seminar? What martial art?
Oh, no. So in 91.
Because I got video of you as a skinny little guy with some dreads that looked like from the 80s or 70s even. I mean, so.
No, it wouldn't be with dreadlocks.
Maybe not with dreads, but you little shorts.
Yeah. You could find video of me. It would be any time from 1983.
Okay.
Right? Because that was my first trip to LA.
Okay.
That's when I started with Sifu Dan. So by 91, right? By 91, I was a senior student.
Got you. Yeah.
No.
That's awesome. But though.
Yeah, but that seminar in New Orleans, it's memorable because the Friday night, right? So the seminar is Saturday and Sunday. The Friday night, we did a special thing for the students at that school. And, Paula Inasano knew I was single. And so she sees the cute girl and she brings me over and says, okay, Dwight, you train her. And I'm like, no, don't do this to me. Right. And she was really cute. I mean, yeah. So New Orleans was fun for a time. It really was.
No, I tell everybody I would never live there again, but it's a good place to visit. If it wasn't for the food and for the music, because I'm really big into the music. If it wasn't for that, and I do have some family left. A lot of them, I don't want to discount any of my family members, but all of the major ones are gone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the music and the it's a good play. I don't like even my wife. I'm like, I don't really want to take you during Mardi Gras. I've been to like 20 Mardi Gras, maybe more.
Yeah. Right.
I've had more bloodshed and more stories that I probably will never even write up in a book that's happened during Mardi Gras. But any other time, I love that she loves the culture. I took her a few years ago and she absolutely loved it. I mean, the music and the food.
Yeah. I mean, that was where I was introduced to po' boys.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. But now, okay, let's talk New Orleans music.
Yeah.
So I started teaching myself how to drum.
Oh, wow.
In the early 1970s.
You told Dan that? Because he's an amazing drummer.
Yeah. He and I mess around. Yeah. Listen, have you been out to the Indesano Academy anytime?
No, not yet. But let me tell you, I know you was in the middle of a story, but I'll tell you a quick story. The first time I met Dan, how blessed I was. 2001. I drive up from New Orleans. I had a school in New Orleans still. I drive up from New Orleans to New Jersey to Seafood Rick Tucci School. And I drove it straight. Back then, boy, you had that ephedra. You remember when ephedra was legal? You had that ephedra. I had a Jeep Cherokee. I drove it straight shot. But traffic and stuff and learning all the states I went through, I got there a little late. Yeah. And I got to Rick Tucci School, and there was just one forerunner in the parking lot. I'm like, I've been missed registration. And back then, the internet wasn't as prolific as it is now, obviously. Mm-hmm. And I opened up the door, and the door's unlocked. I thought for sure it was going to be locked, and I thought for sure I was kind of messed up, that I missed the registration. And I opened up the door, and this little short guy walks around, and it's Guru Dan. And he goes, "Hello, can I help you?" It wasn't even Rick. It was him. I'm like, oh, my God. And I was starstruck, I mean, when you're young and you meet your heroes. I was probably 22 years old. And I'm like, wow. And then I go, "Hello, Guru Dan. I'm here to register for your week." It was a 3-day seminar. I'm here to register for your – it was at the Hun Gym. You remember Hun Gym? Have you ever been in New Jersey?
Yeah. I've been to the New Jersey seminar.
Yeah. Well, they rented out the Hun Gym, a big gym.
Yeah.
And as soon it goes, great. And as soon as I did, Eric Paulson walks behind him and shakes my hand. Then Rick walks behind him and shakes my hand. And we sit on the carpet, and I watch all of them play musical instruments. Because I don't know if you ever been to Rick's school back then. Yep. He had a whole band set up. Mm-hmm. Dan played the drums in front of me. Yep. Rick played the guitar. Eric just talked to me. Eric's neck he just had a fight with, I don't know who it was. And I talk to Eric a lot these days. He's been such a blessing to me. But he had his neck fused or something. He could barely move his neck, but he talked to me the whole. I stayed there for 2 hours with Dan and Eric and Rick sitting on the carpet floor around me. I was the luckiest boy on earth, man.
Isn't that the best?
I will never have that again. Not that luck, that timing, and how they didn't know me from Adam.
Right.
And they just welcomed me because it was late night. They didn't expect anybody to show up, and I showed up,
Yeah. No,
but Dan played the drums for about, I don't know, about a minute or two. He just hit them a little bit. And then it hit me how music plays such a role, or it can play such a role in your martial arts training.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Especially what do you call it? Think about, well, we know that Bruce Lee liked to play music in class, in JKD class, right? Okay. So now we know also that in Filipino martial arts, right? What my friend Bob Landers would call third world tribal arts, right? That music plays a role also.
Yeah.
So currently at the Inasano Academy, okay, there's, I mean, Ron can help me out with this, and maybe Annie can help me out with this, but I would say right now, in terms of pieces of percussion at the Inasano Academy, where behind where Sifu Dan teaches, there's probably about 40 instruments, if not more, right? Okay, and so it is pretty much customary for somebody to be playing music before class starts, right? Between classes, after class, and sometimes even during class, because Sifu Dan will play the drums during class as well, right? So the music thing is integral, you know. So I got to show you something. Tell me if you are familiar with this. Do you know this album cover? Can you see it?
Is that the drum? No, I don't know what that is. No.
Okay. This is a 1969 funk album by a group called the Meters.
Okay. Interesting.
Right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you the name, right? Let's see. The keyboard player of the Meters is a guy named Art Neville.
Okay.
Okay. Right. So many years later, New Orleans music. So when it comes to New Orleans music, the Meters, the Neville brothers, and a trumpet player named Nicholas Payton. Those are like the New Orleans musicians that I kind of get into. But then there's now I can't remember the name of the band, but it's one of those. What do you call that street music?
Zydeco.
No, not those guys. Where the guy will play, where you have a brass section and you have a drumming section. It'll come to me.
Yeah.
Right. But when it comes to the music part of New Orleans, but what you said about your wife and Mardi Gras, that's the same way I feel about Carnival in Trinidad. I don't want to go to Carnival in Trinidad. I can't control that many people.
Exactly.
Right?
And the problem is, I started my bouncing career in New Orleans, so every Mardi Gras, we knew we were getting cut or spit on or multiple fights. I mean, we just knew it was going to be horrible, and it always was. And and I tell Brittany, I'm like, she doesn't do it anymore. She's aged, but back early in our relationship, she's like, I want to go to Mardi Gras. I'm like, yeah. Many times a party in New Orleans, you don't need to go to Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is an uncomfortable party. I like to go to comfortable parties.
Right. Yeah. You know? I mean, you can go down to Bourbon Street probably any night of the week.
Right now.
And hear real. Now for me, I would go looking for blues or for jazz. That's me. Yeah. Right. Yeah. You know, in fact, what the hell is his name? Stanton. There's let me see if I can look him up here. There's a drummer, right? Who is a part owner of Tipitinas. A guy named Stanton Moore. He's a drum. He's a drum teacher, but he's also a drummer in the band, and he's a part owner of Tipitinas. So just stuff like that, man.
Yeah, man.
You know,
you ever heard of Tad Benoit?
Vaguely familiar.
You need to look him up. He's an amazing guitarist.
Okay.
New Orleans bred, Cajun.
Well, you know. Oh yeah.
Times.
Well, but see, I only now discovered you and I are from different generations.
Yeah. Yeah. How old are you? You're in your 50s.
I'm ageless.
You are.
I'm ageless. I got confused when they switched the candles on, it was either my 23rd birthday or my 32nd birthday. And they switched the candles around, and I've been confused ever since. So I have no idea.
54, 56, 54? Or you
Not
don't
even.
want to tell?
Not
Tell me
even.
after the what?
I'll tell you after, right? Not even. I want to be like Inosano, man.
So I wanted to ask you, I know you just was there.
Mhm.
So how was it? I mean, how is he doing? How did he look?
So here's the funny thing. Have you ever seen the old school? You probably have seen it. It's video of the old timer Filipinos that he trained with.
Of course, yeah.
Okay. So there's a clip of a guy named, no, there's a clip of a guy named Telesporo Subing Subing.
Yeah.
Okay. And he is like this high off the ground. Here's the ground. He's like this high off the ground, wielding double stick.
Yeah.
Right. So Inosano was talking about, and the old timers and whatever. And he drops down into this low crouch. And he's talking about
Harimau or Sila.
Right. And he's talking about how the old timers were able to do this. Right. And I'm thinking, he doesn't even realize that he's an old timer and he's doing it himself. Yeah. Right. So So I just want to be like him, man. When I hit,
you had it was a good trip.
So Ron and I went out for Silat camp.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ron, who are we talking about?
So Ron Goldstein. I'm sorry. Right.
Goldstein.
So, gotcha. Yeah. Ron is we've been hanging out together now since I think April or so.
Okay.
And he's a diehard Inosano fan.
Good.
Right. He really is. So we're actually going to be in Atlanta in 3 weekends from today.
Oh yeah.
We'll be in Atlanta. Have you ever been to that camp? The Southeast?
Yeah.
Old Southeast Conference.
I won't be able to make it this year, but I hope to go next year again. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna go head up.
You're talking about
at Sifu Francis?
Yeah. The master. Yeah.
What
Dan or is Grandmaster Chai will be there?
So, well, it used to be for decades. It was Sifu Francis from 5 until 9 on Friday, and then Sifu Dan from 9 until 1, and then Ajahn Chai from 2 until 6. But Ajahn Chai is not going to be there. So it's just Inosano Saturday morning and Sunday morning, and Sifu Francis Saturday evening and Sunday evening.
Yeah.
Right. So it's scaled down a little bit, but that's a seminar that's been going on.
Oh yeah.
That's been going on for more than 30 years, I think, at this point. So yeah, man, I tell you, longevity in the martial arts. I mean, I'm sure, if we talk to people from Kyokushin or what have you, they probably have similar stories. But
so I went to see Grandmaster Heel Cho in 2019, and he knew I was coming. He was expecting me in Hawaii. I don't know if he's got his school's in Hawaii. So I walk up his school's like second story, so you got to walk upstairs. I walk in, and I see a vacuum cleaner and a mop. And I see an 80-year-old man with a muscle shirt on and Taekwondo Dobok pants full of sweat. And he gets up, he goes, "Hello." I'm not going to do a Korean accent because I can't do it. But he's like, I wanted to get a workout in before you came. I'm so glad to finally meet you. And I hung out with him for an hour and a half. And he just worked out and cleaned his school himself at 80 years old.
Yeah.
So there's not another breed of people like that. I mean,
right?
Yeah.
I think sometimes I think that martial artists don't get the automatic respect that military people would get. Right? Okay. I mean, which is
it developed through.
It's kind of understandable.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. And I'm not trying to claim that you know, even an expert martial artist is in the same category as an ex-Navy SEAL. That's not what I'm saying, right? But it's the same way that martial art instructors don't get any credit for being psychotherapists.
That's right. Yeah, that's part of our job. So many times, you know? The stuff I've had parents tell me in the office.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah. So sometimes you got to be a psychotherapist.
It's a discipline that is now lost in translation somehow with the newer, you know. I've been doing martial arts it'll be 40 years this coming February. I've been training. You've been training longer than me.
This last month, no, July was my 40th year with Asano.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So,
but I started when I was 10.
Yes. That's amazing, though. That's amazing, though. I bet Guru Dan just loves to see you too. He probably don't get to see you often, you know.
Well, he's probably sick of me by now.
You see a lot of faces when you went there? Did you see a lot of people that you haven't saw in a while?
Sometimes it's actually a mixed group now. Because a lot of the guys that I grew up with at the Asano Academy have moved on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But for example, when we were there in June, I walk in and there's Damon Carroll. You know Damon Carroll?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So Damon's there for, this must have been the Thursday morning class, I think. And he's there with a guy named Rich Citrone. Do you know who that is?
I'm not sure about him.
Okay, right. So Rich Citrone is Ben Affleck's stunt double for Batman.
Okay, I know who you're talking about.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So Damon's there. Now, but see, I've been around for so long. I remember when Damon started, you know, and Burt Richardson and I looked at him and said, this kid's going to be good.
Yes.
Right. You know, so
was Burt there the last time you went or no?
Oh, no, gosh, no. But what I hope the next time we're there, Mark Sells posted a couple months ago that
he's a great musician. Good Lord.
Mark Sells,
great musician.
He fed me the Thai pads for my Thai test.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great martial artist too, I should say. He's a great martial artist.
Right? Yeah. So he posted a couple months ago that he and Eric Paulson had gone over for the Thursday morning class or the Friday morning class or whatever. So I'm hoping the next time that we're in LA, you know, that if those guys could come over, man, that would be so classic.
Oh man.
Right. You know, yeah. Cause there was a, you know, again, there are some people at the Asano Academy who, I've known them and they've known me since almost day one.
Yeah.
Right. But he's got another crop of students that they have no idea who I am.
Yeah. Are they talented?
Because yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. They're all talented. They're all talented. I mean, I watch them and I'm just like, yeah, these kids got it. It's a different era. It's a different generation of student.
Yeah.
The instruction is a little bit different, right? You know, so for example, if he calls me up and asks me to do something, right? It'll take me a couple seconds to lock into what it is that they're doing because it's, you know, I mean, he's continued training with different people over all this time.
Yeah.
So, you know, so I might not necessarily have been on the receiving end of that new set of sequences.
Yeah.
Right. But if you know what you're doing, it should only take you a few seconds to pick it up. Right. And then you can go with the flow. You know, so it's real exciting to be able to do that type of stuff and just to see him again and see, you know, over 4 decades, right? The evolution of the man and what have you. Right. So I want to play the what if game with you.
Okay.
Right. So what if you could do anything, legal or illegal, and get away with it? Okay. Right. How would you fix the Jeet Kune world?
Mm.
So remember, legal or illegal, but you'd get away with it.
Oh Lord, that's a hard one. I don't, the thing about the Jeet Kune community, the Jeet Kune world is that, and I've said this before, I've been here probably 4 times with you so far, maybe 5. I've said this before, is that somehow Bruce Lee's intentions got lost in translation where it became the actual art of training became lower than the actual art of pretending and playing Jeet Kune. And that's discouraging because it was all about training. I had this revelation one time. I posted a Muay Thai training video of me kicking and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I had a no, I'm not going to mention names, but a semi-known YouTuber, Jeet Kune mm-hmm. guy. Mm-hmm. And he sent me a message and he goes, I love your work, great kicks. He goes, but I thought you was a real Jeet Kune man. He said, real Jeet Kune men don't kick above the waist. He goes, so this hurt my feelings to see you doing this. And it hit me that the art of training is lost. Yeah. It's now the art of playing Jeet Kune. It's the art of reciting quotes, most of which he never even wasn't even his quotes. But it's the art of playing Bruce Lee, playing Jeet Kune. And that sucks because let's be honest. You can say all you want about Bruce Lee with all of the newer observations and facts that have come out about him over the years. But one thing you will never say is that he didn't train his ass off. Right. And he did. He was never lazy. He worked religiously on himself. Yeah. And that's been lost some. So if I could change anything, it would just shut up and go to the laboratory and mm-hmm. then put yourself out there. Mm-hmm. Get the criticism, negative or positive, absorb it. A lot of the negative criticism is fruitless. It's by people who have 0 accomplishments and 0 videos and 0, but some of it may help you become better. Right. So that's what I would say. I would say go back to the laboratory and just train. Become your own entity. We don't need another Bruce Lee. We'll never have another Bruce Lee. Just like we don't need another Elvis Presley. We'll never have another Elvis Presley. Or a Bob Marley. There'll never be another Bob Marley. Mm-hmm. But we can develop our own individuality and uniqueness. And I think that's the core of Jeet Kune was to be unique, Yeah. So that's what I've tried to do my entire life in Jeet Kune. And I've been training Jeet Kune for, I'm a baby compared to some of you guys. I started Jeet Kune in 94, but I was already a martial artist since 83. Right. So Jeet Kune spread into everything I did because the uniqueness, the open-mindedness, the willingness to learn, mm-hmm. and the willingness to learn something over here that may help this over here. Over because that's a fact. Yeah. If you learn something over here, it may make this better. Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be a lesson that's lost on some of them. That's what Bruce Lee did. Yes. But it's like it seems to me that their contention is, well, Bruce Lee did it, so it's already done, so we don't have to do that for ourselves, right? So we don't have to do any experimentation. He did all the experimentation for us, and I think that's not just that's intellectually lazy as well. Yeah, man. And you know what? To think that he wouldn't look 1,000% different today had he had lived mm-hmm. than he looked in 73 is totally nuts. Yeah. Okay. So you look at him in 64 to 70, 2 different people. You know? Yeah. Okay. So that's the other part of the what if game. So what if Bruce Lee had not passed away and you got to meet him? Okay. I think that he create that scenario. He didn't pass away and you got to meet him. Yeah, create that scenario. I think that he would have been, great seminars with him and Dan together, him and Ted Wong together. I think he would have kept the whole circle. All these instructors that he trained differently. Nobody likes to talk about that. People always pit all these guys against each other when in fact, and we know as instructors, me and you've been instructors a long time. We know as instructors, we teach individuals differently.
Mm-hmm.
I've had pupils under me that I train way different than I did classroom people.
Yeah.
You know, or than I did, you know, a guy that I knew, I hope not, but I knew that he wouldn't stay here for 6 months. I'm not going to put as much time into him as I will someone that I feel in my heart and soul is going to be here 3 to 5, 6, 7, 8 years, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and don't think that he didn't do that. Of course, he put everybody he did differently. And the thing about Bruce Lee that people don't talk about, and I can say this because I was the same way, every phase of my own evolution through the martial arts, I used my students as a teaching board for myself. And I know that's selfish, and I know that is not, you know.
I went the first time, so it's so funny. A couple of days ago, I reminded Cass Magda. You know who Cass is, right?
Oh, yeah, he's great.
Okay. So I reminded Cass that 40 years ago, he told me, yeah, your students are kind of like your sandbox where you go, right? Where you go to experiment and play around. I was like, but I remember the first time I heard him say that 35 to 40 years ago, I thought, that's kind of selfish, just like you just said.
Yeah.
But it really isn't.
No.
It really isn't, because they're going to get the best of what you were able to come up with.
That's
so
right.
It goes back to what you
and
were
they're going to even help you develop it.
Right. So it goes back to the uniqueness factor that you were talking about. Yeah. You know, why are we talking about Bruce Lee 50 years after he passed away? Uniqueness. But that doesn't mean then, but now we're supposed to live in the shadow of his uniqueness instead of being inspired to be the best version of ourselves.
So I mentioned that first time I met Guru Dan back in 2001. I'm sitting on Rick Tucci's gym floor, carpet, no pads back then, and the little scent of sweat everywhere and the drums and everything, and I'm just overwhelmed. Eric Paulson's right here. Rick Tucci's playing the drums or the guitar. Guru Dan is right here sitting in a yoga pose, and he looks at me. We were in the middle of and I told him, I said, and by the time I'd already owned a school for 5-6 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I lost a fiance already because she wanted me to go get a regular job. You know what I mean? And I'm telling him, and he looks at me, he goes, and you may know this, some people don't, that I tell that who know him way better than I do. He goes, I had to sell my first drum set to keep the lights on at my school, he told me. And he goes, he said, you have to sacrifice for this, you know? But then he looked at me and he said something that I didn't understand at 22 years old. And I only now understand it. He says, you're going to take this art way higher than I ever will. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You're Guru Dan Osana. That's what I was thinking. I'm just listening and absorbing. He goes, because when I give it to you, it's here. Mm-hmm. You're going to take it to here. And then when you give it to someone, they're going to take it to here.
Yeah. And
it's a constant climbing the ladder, so to speak.
Yeah. You know? So, you know, we started this conversation with music.
Yeah.
I just saw a video. So the first time I saw Elijah Marley is the son of Damian Marley. Okay. The first time I saw Elijah, he was on stage with his dad, and he was about this tall. I saw him a few days ago. He is now this tall, and he's playing drums and doing vocals like Don Henley from the Eagles, right? Now, drumming and singing lead vocals, that's the hardest thing to do. Even harder, I think, than playing bass and singing vocals like Sting, right? But I'm thinking about this, and what you just said reminded me of, because Bob Marley once said that his music will live on.
Yeah.
Right? But now I realize Bob didn't necessarily mean just his music, he means music, right?
Yes.
In his family also. His
Yeah.
family will continue that
Yeah.
legacy, right?
Yeah.
You know,
And those guys like Dan Asano, Hio Cho, Wally J, Mas Oyama. We can go to any art we want to go to. Those guys are the catalysts of growth.
yes.
And if they were not the catalysts of growth, they would die when they die. But those guys never die. That's how legends, Bruce Lee, that's how legends are created, because a part of them lives on through the people they've sparked a thought or a training.
Yeah. You know, now, I mean, of course, neither you nor I actually trained with Bruce Lee, but that doesn't stop us from being part of his legacy.
That's right.
Because we have trained with the people who
That's
trained with him,
That's
right? Okay. So that too factors into my what if scenario. So what if instead of the seminar training, what if Bruce Lee had not died and you got to become his student?
Man, I don't know. I don't know what it would have been. I guarantee you it would have been this, though. It would have been different than what we see him as today. Because the Guru Dan told me this one time too. I asked him this. I said, why do you think that he's still so popular?
Mm-hmm.
He said, because we never got to see him get old. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Because it's happened recently. I told you I'm a huge music guy. And we love Elvis. Elvis is he was the most famous man alive. I mean, his name will always be, he has a house called Graceland and a huge memorial in the back where he's buried. But Jerry Lee Lewis just died. And Jerry Lee Lewis was one of the founding fathers of rock and roll also. Same era. Did the same. He lived a legendary life too, but he's buried in a little bitty plot in Louisiana with a little bitty fence where you can go sit by it right now, because we got to see him get old.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? We didn't get to see Bruce Lee get old, so that legend. We didn't get to see Elvis get old, so that legend stuck in time. When they died, it's stuck in time.
Now, I don't disagree with you, but I'm going to point something out to you. So we're at SELAC camp back in June, and there's this kid training next to us, and I notice he's got the best looking notes, right? Okay. Meanwhile, my notes, look like chicken scratch or what have you.
Yes.
So I said to him, I go, hey, would you be interested in sharing? He goes, yeah, once I clean it up and what have you, right?
Okay.
But then he says to me, oh, this and this. He goes, I only been around since last year.
Oh.
So dig this, right? Dig this. So this kid has only been around since 2022. And he's with whom? He's with Dan Asano, who has grown old.
Yes.
You see? So we have seen Asano grow old.
Exactly.
That's his name still, right? Still generates respect, admiration, awe, right? And there's still people wanting to come train with him, even though he's 87.
Yeah. Is he 80? Wow. Shit.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So even though we have seen him, so I think that I don't know that Bruce Lee's popularity would have decreased any if he did grow old.
My biggest question is, what would he have been without the movie career? That's what I've always pondered.
Well, so did you see the post that I put up, the passage from John Little?
Yeah. I've been following some of those. I was a little confused. Obviously, we have to talk about that.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay. So this
Good
is
book.
the thing.
Good book, by the way. You enjoyed the book?
I'll tell you what I'm enjoying. I am enjoying John Little's style of writing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
it is so, his narrative is so descriptive that as I read, I can picture the scenarios, so that's a very creative style of writing, because I'm reading and I can see the images of what I'm reading.
Yes.
I am enjoying it. He's really good at, he's really good at fleshing out the stories.
Yes.
And
he's been digesting that information for many years now.
Yeah. So he's really good at adding color and flavor, to a story that you may have heard about before, right? So I found it interesting, the little exchange where Mito Uehara says that Bruce Lee said that he wanted to open up a school, right? But I've been told that maybe Mito Uehara, I'm not sure. But Alex Richter, the Kung Fu genius, says, well, John Little, I don't know if they've done it yet, but I guess they had a recent conversation about the book, maybe, and so John Little might have something to say about that passage. So who knows, right? Who knows what Bruce Lee would have gone on to do? But if somebody says, well, to make yourself feel good, imagine such and such. I can imagine him having a school. I can imagine a whole bunch of things, right? But all right. So here's the let me see. Here's the last part. Okay, now you got to think real hard about this one.
Okay.
Bruce Lee does pass away, but because you had been a student of his, now he's gone, but you're in a position of authority. What do you do?
I would hope, and this is a serious ass question, because I would hope I would have went the route that Dan went, but Dan has gotten crucified for doing it. And in my opinion, he's the only one that did exactly what Bruce Lee wanted. Mm-hmm. And that's my humble opinion. My humble opinion was go out, be creatively and individually yourself.
Yeah.
And Dan did that.
He did.
And he gets crucified to this day, not because he isn't and that's where people mess up. It's not because he isn't a Jeet Kune authority. Of course he is that. But it's because he loves other shit. They only expect him to love Jeet Kune.
Well, what they don't realize, right, is one, I think Bruce Lee not only accelerated, but also expanded Inosanto's thoughts about martial art. Yeah. I think Inosanto was interested in different things from the get-go.
Of course he was, because if you look at his sport career in high school even, he ran football, he was always, and he said this, and I know you've heard this, but back then when Bruce started developing Jeet Kune, they would eat a good burger and they go, that's Jeet Kune.
Right.
They used it as that's good.
Yeah. Uh-huh. But it's to use the word that you use, I think Bruce Lee was a catalyst for Inosanto.
100%. So right? I just think that the Jeet Kune world has some of them hate on him only because they feel like he abandoned it. Mm-hmm. Like he only should have went one path. Well, where do you go when a 32-year-old kid, let's be honest, a 32-year-old young man, I'm not going to call him a kid, but a young man who's still figuring out himself. Right. And the facts is he changed his own curriculum sometimes every damn month. Yeah. Yeah. He was still figuring out himself. We know now that he was in a lot of extracurricular activities. We know that he had an exciting lifestyle in Hollywood. What's the path? Because he didn't know the path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's so tricky, man.
Why do you think a lot of people are of the opinion that Bruce Lee would have continued acting, and he would have been so busy acting that he wouldn't have had time for a school?
I think that above everything, I think martial arts was his first passion. I do, and I can relate to that because martial art was my first passion.
Mm-hmm.
I've also tried to learn the piano multiple times in my life. I've tried to learn to play the guitar multiple times in my life. I like to shoot. I like the tactical capabilities of learning to run and gun. I like all these other things, but it always comes back to martial art.
Right.
I think that he couldn't never abandon that. And I do believe that he would have opened up more schools eventually. I don't know if he would have ran them per se, but I think that he would have. I think the right. Then again, he could have got he could have took off like Jackie Chan. And who knows? Because let's be honest, if Jackie Chan opened up a chain of martial arts schools, they probably would have done very well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Same thing if Jet Li did, or if all these,
You just made me think of something that I saw the other day. Did you see Joe Rogan talking to Chad Stahelski?
Yeah.
So when they were talking about the tactical gun stuff, they mentioned the name Taran. Do you know who that is?
Oh yeah, very much so.
Okay, so I saw a video of him the other day, and it was draw and shoot.
Yeah.
And they put him on a timer.
Oh yeah.
It was a quarter second, Billy.
Oh, he's amazing, and he's out of shape, and but he understands the mechanics.
Oh my God!
Mechanics are everything, and he's training all the Keanu. I mean, he's training all those guys. He's amazing. Yeah,
amazing, man.
Yeah. And if you look at all his students, you need to find a girl named Jade. She's one of his students. She's beautiful, by the way. I mean, but she can run and gun like the boys. I mean, she wears a sports bra, and I mean, she just.
I think she's the one that they said something like, "Well, you hesitated," and she said, "Well, there was a squirrel."
Yeah.
I think I saw a video with this girl. But yeah, right. But man, a girl like that, let me tell you.
Oh my God.
Right.
I mean, my wife can run and gun. She took to my gun course. I have a gun course called TASK, TASK, Tactical Attributes and Shooting Kinetics.
Whoa.
And it's merely kind of a martial arts based parry the knife, bang, 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 get off at the X, run and gun. And Brittany took to it like it was nothing. She's also probably one of my best. She can run a knife. She can run equipment better than she can punch and kick, is what I'm trying to say. She's not bad at that, but she can run and gun and knife like it's nothing.
Nice.
Which I love that because you need that equalizer.
Yeah.
But my point is, I don't think Bruce ever would have left martial arts. That's what he even said that back then. Everything that I have gained, I have gained through.
Right. That is being observant. See, a lot of people, I think, with this opinion, they forget that he said that.
Yeah.
So so the idea that he would not have kept, right,
and
his foot in that.
Me when I hear people go, he was an actor first. He did. And I'm like, come on, man. I mean, come on, man.
Well, I think what it is, the people who I saw something the other day. Any lightweight MMA guy would have been able to take Bruce Lee and what have you. I think what it is that these are people who all they've seen, if they've seen anything, is his films. They've not read anything about Bruce Lee.
No.
So
and
they don't.
Not just that too. Not just that, because I'll play devil's advocate for a second. You're comparing 70s to today. They didn't have YouTube. Like, I can learn literally the way I'm wired. I'm a very visual. And my instructors used to hate me for it. You show me one time, give me 2 weeks, I'm going to do it better than you ever did. And my instructors still talk about that to this day. You didn't have all that YouTube. You didn't have you didn't go to, if you wanted to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, there's one right here on the corner. There's a judo school on the corner over here. There's you didn't have that access, Had Bruce, if you would have picked today, threw it back in 72, and gave Bruce a good trainer, 6 months, 8 months to train him, he would have ran through a lot of people in his weight division. I mean, this is bottom line, And yeah, it's the time period.
Yeah, when I hear people say, if Bruce Lee had lived, he would have trained with the Gracies, right? I think they don't realize that if everything was the way it was, so if you take that and put it back into the 60s and 70s, the Gracies would have trained with him.
Yeah,
they would have gone. They would have sought him out.
He would have wanted that knowledge too, I think. Though I'm not a Gracie fan or follower at all. By the way, I've been labeled the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu hater over the years.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
But
what did you do?
Well, so first off, I was grappling in my area in Tennessee before anyone. I started judo in '92. Mm-hmm. So, and nobody was grappling. And that was right before I think the UFC started in 91 or 92, but it didn't really take off. But I loved it. I got with a cop in Nashville who did it strictly for combatives.
Yeah.
And he was a great judoka. And I just got hooked to it. And in return, I taught him Taekwondo and kickboxing. So I was doing that before anyone. And then the judo led me into Japanese jiu-jitsu. Then the Japanese jiu-jitsu led me into catch. So, but my mind's always been focused towards the street. So when Brazilian jiu-jitsu came along, the way they were doing it when I first saw it, the booty scooting and pulling guard immediately, it didn't fit in my paradigm of what I was looking for. You got to understand, back in '97, I started bouncing full-time every night in New Orleans. So it didn't fit my paradigm. You don't want to booty scoot on glass in New Orleans on syringe and piss in the streets when 5 guys hit you with bottles. So it didn't fit my paradigm. But then as I started experimenting, my love-hate I can't even say love-hate relationship. My hate relationship with jiu-jitsu. I say that loosely because I have some really good friends who are great BJJ guys, and I respect them so much. But they don't have the personality that I'm about to tell you. It got to the point where it seemed like the people that the Brazilian jiu-jitsu community was producing was people who thought they were superior to everybody else in every way. Yeah. So it ain't that I hate the art. I hated the people that it was producing. And it just turned me off. I'm still so turned off by it.
Yeah. Well, I can't say outright, but if you look at the majority of the champs, they are of a certain ethnicity, and those people don't, right? But I can't say it out loud because
it's the Brazilian mentality.
I live where I live.
There are guys who will make you believe that their art is combatively superior. Yeah. And everybody knows capoeira is not really you wouldn't think of capoeira as a combative art, but they will make you believe that they can beat 20 guys with guns right now with their little armorals and so it's the Brazilian mentality. But I always tell people this: it's not that I'm a Brazilian jiu-jitsu hater, and let me tell you, I love Eric Paulson to death. Like, that man to me is gold. And he has been so crucial in Brittany's recovery and praying for us. And he teaches, but good and well, Eric's not a BJJ man. Even though he is a BJJ man, he's not just that.
How long did it take him to accept his black belt?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And the Gracies kicked him out of. I mean, it was just so. If I follow the only BJJ people I follow are the Machados and Eric. I mean, because they, they're just open-minded.
Yeah.
They don't have that mentality that we're God sent. This is the greatest. And it pisses me off when I see people talk about they see a video on YouTube of somebody doing a judo throw and they're like, BJJ wins again. And I'm like, where's BJJ at? That was judo. I learned that first lesson in judo in 92, 93. I'm like, you think that – so people think that BJJ is the only grappling system.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. You mentioned capoeira and 93. Did you see Kurt Cornwell? Do you know Kurt Cornwell up in Michigan?
Yes.
he posted that this is the 30th anniversary of Only the Strong.
Oh yeah.
Do you know the movie?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of
Okay.
course.
Yeah.
I have kind of my lineage kind of comes from Mark Dacascos. Not really Mark, but his dad, Al. My first instructor who introduced me to Kali was Al's student. So
really?
I kind of got a bloodline there a little bit, you know. I've told Mark that. I've told Al that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah, but so talented. Yeah, Marcus. Yeah, and his dad, like my instructor Guru Rango, and he told me he said he showed up for one of Al's seminars. He would follow him seminar circuit, and he said it was only me and one other guy. He goes, nobody showed up. He goes, it was bad weather or something, I forgot. And he goes, and you know, most people would have just said, I'm not doing it. He goes, but he worked with us double stick for 4 hours. Al Dacascos, 4 hours double stick. Nice. You know, and he goes, it was the greatest seminar. It was me and one other guy in this, you know. Yeah. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, my friend, I'm gonna let you go.
Okay.
And you know, give my best regards to the lady. And
she wishes she could have been here. She went to work tonight. She was
really?
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I help her get her little compression socks on. They go up to her damn knees. I have to roll them down some. You know those copper ones? They got copper built into them. Heard those?
Yeah.
They help her. When she takes them off, though, that's when the pain hits. It seems like when they're on, it keeps the pain at bay. But when you take them off, whoo. So I'm gonna rub her feet tonight. I almost got to tie her down. She tries to elbow me when I rub her feet.
Okay. Well, here's what you do. Put the recording of this on while you rub your feet. And that'll get it right.
I love you, brother.
And that might calm her down. All right.
Yeah.
Listen, my friend. All right. All the best. All my love.
Yes. Same here. All you guys out there, thanks for tuning in.
All right, man.
I'll see you soon, brother.
Okay.
I'm gonna come visit you soon.
All righty. Sounds good. Okay, man. Bye. All right. Okay, cool. So that was episode 275 of the Jeet Kune Dialogues. Anything you guys need to ask Billy, go ahead and put them in the comments. I'll make sure that he goes through it and takes care of any questions that you might have. I'm puzzled. I'm puzzled because I'm seeing something in the background that I didn't expect to see. But anyhow, all right. So that's it. Let me talk to you about supporting the program. You can go to jkdrebel.com, click on the Rebel Gear link, and that's where you'll see stuff like this, the JKD Rebel coffee mugs. You'll also see stuff like this, JKD Rebel t-shirts, all one-of-a-kind designs from the creative mind here, right? You can also support the Jeet Kune Dialogues by clicking on the join link on the YouTube channel, and that's where you'll see the different levels of membership, and you can help us out there. You can also go to paypal.me/unifiedma Miami, paypal.me/unifiedma Miami, and that's where you can get the Jeet Kune Journey Volume 1, raw but edited version. Jeet Kune Journey Volume 1, paypal.me/unifiedma Miami. But of course, the best thing you can do is to share this video and spread the word about the Jeet Kune Dialogues. Okay, and so until the next episode, this is Dwight Woods of Jeet Kune Rebel signing off. You guys enjoy your weekend. I'm looking at the weather here. We might get some rain later tonight, right? But everything's cool here in Miami. Thanks to all of you who expressed concern. We're good. Okay, so take care. Talk soon.